to our 11th From the Shack barbecue show. We hope you're having a great summer, even though the weather's been a bit dodgy over the last couple of weeks. Now, Elky, how are you? And what have you been up to?
Well, it's raining again, so I'm not happy about that. What have I been up to? Cooking plenty of burgers. I've been having a bit of a burger spree recently, cooking up lots of filthy burgers. Friday, we had the England game, didn't we? So I had a few friends over for the England game. I was actually doing a shoot on that day as well. So I cooked up plenty of food. So there's plenty of food. Lads over. Yeah, that's a good crack, apart from the result, obviously. And then, obviously, we had Father's Day. So, again, cooked some burgers, took Joe to the Sea Life Centre. Yeah, all in all, mate, it's been all right. What about you?
I absolutely loved Father's Day. Elky, just take a quick look at these two Father's Day cards I got. They're absolutely brilliant. Also on Father's Day, we went to a family barbecue, which was hosted by my niece Becky and her husband Godfrey. And Godfrey loves to barbecue. And he cooked these two amazing tomahawk steaks and this fantastic brisket. Now, let's take a look at what's coming up in today's show.
Coming up, Elky shows us how to create delicious stuffed skirt steaks. On his Kamado Joe, Neal makes a cheesy chicken, bacon and potato barbecue bake. We announce the winner of our What's Cooking competition, who'll be receiving a brilliant BBQ Brave box from Thermapen. Our special guest is Dave McCormack from Wilsons BBQ, who creates perfect Texas-style barbecue here in the UK. Welcome to From the Shack.
Lots coming up in today's show. Now, Elky, some sad news. The Black Deer Festival has been cancelled for this summer.
Yeah, that is sad. I know the organisers have put in a hell of a lot of work to get that off the ground and up and running this year, so it's really sad that it's been rescheduled. From a personal point of view and a selfish point of view, my missus is away on a hen do this weekend and I wouldn't have been able to go, so I'm glad that I'll be able to go next year. And knowing the organisers, I'm sure it's going to come out bigger, better, and it'll be an absolutely cracking event next year.
I'm sure it will be, Elky. Now it's time to look at Elky's stuffed skirt steak film.
Today, I'm going to take this beautiful piece of skirt steak from Philip Warren Butchers and I'm going to stuff it with some cheese, some peppers, some onion. I'm going to put a Mexican rub in there. We're going to roll it up, put a skewer for it and treat it to some fire. It's going to be delicious. And we're going to finish it off with a chimichurri. So let's crack on. So the first thing we need to do is butterfly this lovely piece of skirt steak. So we're just going to take a nice sharp knife, and what we want to do is we want to kind of get this nice and thin because we want to be able to roll it up. So I'm just going to kind of start in the middle here and then just being very careful not to go all the way through down to the bottom. We're just going to kind of slice across, and then that should enable us to just open it up like so, which is going to give us more area to put more cheese, more goodies, more stuffing. So we're going to open it up that way, and then we're going to do the same again this way, get a nice sharp knife for this, and just again doing the same, just through there and butterfly it open like so. What I'm going to do with this now is just slice this in half, because I'm going to stuff this part and this part, and then we're going to roll it up, and then once it's cooked we're going to slice it in half and we'll have ourselves 4 or 5 pinwheels. So with this steak, all I'm going to do is going to rub a little bit of oil into the steak, then I'm going to put some chopped pepper, some chopped red onion, a bit of Mexican cheese in there as well, and then we're going to roll it up and just stick a skewer through it. We're probably going to put a little bit of Mexican rub in there as well, just for extra flavour. So let's crack on and do that. So it's not pretty, but we've done the job. We've got some of these butcher string bits around it. We put a couple of skewers in. You probably will lose a bit of cheese throughout the cooking. So I'm going to put these in a tin, and then we're going to cook these in the Joe Junior. Now I've got this running at about 150 Celsius, indirect, and we're going to bring these up until they hit an internal temperature of around about 48, 49 degrees Celsius, and then we're going to take them out, rest them. I'm going to crank this up to searing temperatures, and then we're going to finish these off with a nice sear. And in the meantime, while these are cooking indirect, we're going to make a chimichurri. So while the pinwheels are cooking away, they're smoking over cherry wood, we're going to make a nice easy chimichurri. So we've got some flat leaf parsley here that I've just taken off of the stalks. We're going to thinly slice that, really finely dice it. You can do it in a pestle and mortar, you want it nice and small. To that, we're going to chop up a clove of garlic, again, really finely diced, and that's going to go in as well. Pinch of oregano, got some salt and pepper, probably about a tablespoon of red wine vinegar, and plenty of olive oil until you get the consistency you want. I like a nice kind of runny chimichurri, so let's crack on and knock this up. There we go, you can see they were cooked indirect until they were about 52, 53 degrees. Taken them off, cranked the temperature up in the Joe Junior, finished them off with a nice screaming hot sear. I can see the cheese is oozing out, it smells delicious. So we're just gonna have to slice in and see exactly how we've done. So we're just gonna go, take this one here, and we're just gonna go straight down the middle and have a look. And there we go, look at that, beautiful. Juicy, still got plenty of that cheese in there, the peppers, the onions, the Mexican rub. That looks absolutely delicious. So I'm going to slice these into some pinwheels. We're going to finish it off with some chimichurri, and then we're going to have a taste and see exactly how we've done. But oh, I am salivating, I am hungry. Let's get them sliced up. I'm not going to lie, I'm more than happy with how these have turned out. They look absolutely incredible. So we're going to have a taste, aren't we? So we're just going to go ahead, just take a bit off the front here with the cheese, with the pepper, and see exactly how we've done. That is beautiful. With the peppers in there, that Mexican cheese with a little bit of spice, the Mexican rub. This is the first time I've done these, and they are an absolute winner. So please give it a go. If you do give it a go, don't forget, send your pictures in using the hashtag from the shack, and we'll do our best to feature them on the show. So that's my cheese and pepper stuffed pinwheels, finished with chimichurri. I do hope you'll give it a go.
Elky, that steak looks so good. I've never cooked skirt steak before. What's it like to grill with?
Oh, it's brilliant, mate. You're missing out. It's one of the cheaper cuts, but it's full of flavour. Now, I don't normally cook it this method, stuffing it. I normally cook it really hot, really fast, get a cracking sear on there, slice it against the grain, serve it with some chimichurri. Oh, mate, it's so good. Anyway, should we take a look at what you've been cooking?
I think it's fair to say that the weather in June has been a bit strange. Plenty of sunshine, but shed loads of stormy weather too.
The rain's been great for the garden, but it hasn't been much fun to barbecue in.
Today in Outdoor Living, I'm going to cook a family favourite. It's a bit of a winter dish, but I don't think anyone will mind considering the weather we've had in the past week or so. I'm going to make a cheesy chicken, bacon and potato barbecue bake on my Kamado Joe Classic 2, and I'll serve it with tender stem broccoli. I love chicken, but it can dry out easily when you grill it. To stop this happening, you can brine it first. The brine not only adds flavour to the meat, but it also helps to keep it juicy no matter how you cook it. Brines are simple to make. To start with, you'll need to dissolve 4 teaspoons of sea salt into a litre of hot water. Next, add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and let the mixture cool down. To add flavour to the brine, I've added 2 bay leaves, a teaspoon of peppercorns, 3 roughly chopped garlic cloves and a couple of sprigs of thyme. For my barbecue bake, I'm using 4 large chicken breasts, and these need to be added to the brine and then placed in the fridge for at least 2 hours. The other ingredients that you'll need for this dish are 4 rashers of streaky bacon, 5 Maris Piper potatoes, 2 sweet potatoes, 1 onion, 4 cloves of garlic, 2 sprigs of sage, 1 leek, 500 millilitres of chicken stock, 150 millilitres of single cream, 80 grams of Parmesan cheese, 50 grams of unsalted butter, salt, pepper and rapeseed oil. Remove the chicken from the fridge to allow it to come up to room temperature and prepare the barbecue for direct grilling. I'm going to brown the chicken over direct heat for about 4 minutes on either side. Next, grill the bacon until it's nice and crispy. I don't think anything smells quite as good as bacon on the barbecue. Put the chicken and bacon to one side and prepare the vegetables for the cook. Peel the potatoes and finely slice into thin discs and do the same with the sweet potatoes. Next, remove the stalks from the sage and chop finely. Peel the onion and garlic and finely chop. And slice the leek, keeping it quite chunky. Add these ingredients to a cast iron frying pan with a little rapeseed oil and pepper and soften for 5 minutes or so. What makes this dish so tasty is the Parmesan. Grate the cheese and prepare the chicken stock. For this element of the cook, prepare the barbecue for indirect cooking. I'm using a roasting pan to cook the barbecue bake. Add the sliced potatoes and sweet potatoes, followed by the sage, chopped bacon and the softened onion mix. Add a glug of rapeseed oil, salt and pepper and give it a good mix. Put the dish on the barbecue and add the chicken stock. Close the lid and cook for around 30 minutes at 180 degrees C. Keep an eye on it and give the mixture a regular stir. After 30 minutes, add the chicken breasts, a few dabs of butter and the single cream. Followed by a couple of teaspoons of salt and pepper. Finally, add the grated Parmesan cheese and cook for a further 30 minutes or when the chicken reaches an internal temperature of 75 degrees C. You've got to give this dish a go. The combination of cheese, chicken and bacon is an absolute winner. I served the barbecue bake with tender stem broccoli and it was a big hit with my family on what was a very cold summer's day. If you're looking at upping your barbecue game this summer, why not give Barbecue Barn a call? Their shops in Sidcup and Leigh-on-Sea are open from Mondays through to Saturdays and they're on hand to give you the best barbecue advice.
Elky, that dish was lovely and ideal for a chilly summer's evening night.
Chilly summer's evening, it just doesn't sound right, does it? We need hot summer evenings. But yeah, no, that looked absolutely banging, mate, and it shows off the versatility of the Kamado Joe well as well.
It certainly does. Now, Elky, would you like to introduce our special guest for the show?
Yeah, so our special guest for the show is a guy from the UK who's probably creating the best Texas barbecue outside of Texas. It's Dave McCormack from Wilsons BBQ.
Dave, welcome to the show. Can I start by asking, where did the name Wilsons BBQ come from? And also, where did your love of Texan authentic barbecue come from?
A lot of people think that my name is Wilson or my surname's Wilson, but it's actually my dog's name. Yeah, needed a name to start my Instagram and my YouTube channel. Thought it was a cool name, went with it, thought it would just be temporary and it's just, stuck. And then in terms of kind of authentic Texas style barbecue, always been into barbecue and cooking generally. Love cooking, everything, but barbecue specifically. Went over to Texas in 2019, and always been a kind of fan from afar of Texas barbecue, through YouTube and things like that. But went over to Texas in 2019 and just fell in love with the authenticity, or the authentic Texas style barbecue. Probably had the best bite of barbecue, or the best bite of food I've ever had in my life over there. And then it just, set me on a path for chasing the perfect barbecue, the perfect brisket, the perfect ribs, perfect sausage. Yeah.
Your brisket, I've got to say, and we message each other quite a lot, and I comment on a lot of your stuff. Your brisket looks absolutely legendary, mate. Talk us through the process, from starting to kind of trim the brisket to finish. Talk us through how you perfect the brisket.
Yeah, so you mentioned about trimming the brisket. For me, that's become probably one of the things. When I started out, I thought I wouldn't really focus too much on it. Just thought, I just need to trim the fat off and just cook it. And that's where the kind of magic happens. But the more I've done it, the more important the trim's got for me. So I obviously start out with just trimming the brisket, aerodynamics, particularly with an offset smoker, which is what I use. It's so key to stop pooling of juices and things like that, which ruins the bark, and just really helps with kind of getting a consistent bark all over, and a consistent texture for when you're slicing it. So trimming it, a little, not a secret of mine, but something I do that I don't really share so often, because I haven't got around to it on my YouTube, is seasoning the day before. So I always trim my briskets and season my briskets the day before, put them on a rack and put them into the fridge. And then the salt just draws enough moisture out from that fat that it will, the bark will just form much quicker and much more consistent across the brisket. So season the day before, get a much better product. And it's not on there long enough, and there's so much fat covering, particularly the fat cat side, that you're not going to toughen up the meat by withdrawing too much moisture out. And then it's pretty much just cooking at around 120 to 135 Celsius for as long as it takes. Wrapping for me is a key point, and wrapping at the right time to make sure you don't wash off the bark. That's probably something that I've been focusing on a lot more recently, because I find that if you wrap too early, you get a lot of water moisture from the brisket washing away the bark, and you also don't get a real kind of concentrated beef flavour. And you can often see it on Instagram and things like that, where people wrap their briskets based on the internal temperature. When they, Fahrenheit, a lot of people work in, they'll wrap it at 165. But the more and more I've cooked, and the more people I've spoken to that do it, cook 100 briskets a day. The most important thing is waiting for all of the water moisture in the brisket to leave and evaporate. And you can always tell when you haven't done that, because you'll often see people cut into briskets and they'll kind of look pale and pink. And when you really evaporate all that moisture and you just leave behind the rendered fat, you'll notice that briskets kind of get a brown kind of tinge to them. Wrapping at the right time. Best time to do that is when all the fat on top's rendered. It feels like spongy and it kind of sizzles when you press it. Wrap it up, cook it until the flat probes like peanut butter, warm peanut butter. Let it rest for about 18 hours. In my process anyway, 2 hours to, as long as you want really, in a nice hot hold. And then, that's pretty much my approach to brisket. That's perfect for me, at least.
It looks perfect, mate. And I'm always drooling over your briskets, and the bark always looks amazing. And that's one thing I never get right. And because I always try and do mine quickly, I'm never quite going to get the bark. Certainly not going to get the bark that you get on an offset. So your barbecue trays as well. Going back to Instagram and the kind of way you lay out your barbecue trays. I mean, your trays look probably better than some of the, a lot of the restaurants in Texas, mate. So talk us through, what's the kind of perfect tray of food for you?
I think for me, just real simple. I love, a slice of fatty brisket, one slice, a smoked, real good smoked sausage, and some ribs, and then real good sides, potato salad, something to kind of cleanse the mouth a little bit and get rid of some of that fat that you get from all the beef products. That for me, the Texas Trinity, sausage, ribs, and brisket, that's the perfect tray for me. Some real good sides.
Dave, which American barbecue restaurants do you admire the most?
Got to be Franklin Barbecue in Austin. I truly think that a lot of people wouldn't be doing what they are today, even here, without Franklin Barbecue. What that restaurant has done for the barbecue culture around the world with his books and his masterclass, you know, and the design of the offset pit with the collector's stack, things like that. Admiration, definitely Franklin Barbecue. Best barbecue that I tasted in Texas, at least, was probably Valentina's Tex-Mex, also in Austin. They do an incredible blend of kind of authentic, South American, Mexican flavors mixed with traditional Texas barbecue. And yeah, their breakfast tacos are just unreal.
Talking about kind of Texas restaurants and stuff, we don't have much of that over here, do we? But you've started your own kind of Texas barbecue collection service, and I've seen the video where you've done you kind of listed the process from start to finish and how much work's involved, mate. Just talk us through, like, when you do your collections, talk us through the planning that goes behind it and the kind of process from start to finish.
The process starts about a week and a half before we carry out the collection nights. And again, that's everything from making sure that we've got all the right stock in terms of packaging, things like that, making sure that I got the orders in, making sure that my suppliers got all the right stock in. So I check with those guys directly ahead of time, saying I'm probably looking to order, 4 briskets or whatever it is. Can you hold them back for me? Trying to get a good price for those briskets to make sure that I can make profit on a small amount of profit, making sure that the wood's in stock, that I've got that delivered in time. Tons of stuff that goes into it. Most of it is captured in that video, but it's a long process from a kind of just mental capacity point of view. Lots of thoughts, lots of thinking time goes into prepping for that night. But 3 days worth of cooking as well. So I start doing it on about Tuesday, ready for the Saturday, and I make sausage, and that takes about 3 days. And then trimming my briskets on Thursday, in the fridge overnight, cook them Friday, hold them overnight, serve them on the Saturday. So yeah, it's a long, tough week, especially when I've got a full-time job as well.
You cook all your barbecue on offset. You have got other grills at home as well. You talk us through your collection.
So I've got the offset. I've got the Franklin Barbecue Pits offset, which is imported by Pro Smoke from the US. Waiting list for that is like 2 years. There are no other of those outside of the US because they don't ship outside of the US. But Pro Smoke managed to get one into the country, and I just had to have it. Aaron Franklin builds a barbecue pit with a 2-year waiting list, and I've got an opportunity to buy it. I'm going to buy it. So that's that. That's my kind of small backyard pit. And then there are some guys down in Eastbourne, Smoky Oak Barbecue, and they kind of similar to me. They appreciate true Texas barbecue. They've been over there. They've met with some of the kind of key pit builders over there. They've got a real passion for it, and they're barbecue guys that wanted to make pits that made good barbecue. So I've got one of their 100-gallon pits at the moment. They make 500-gallon pits as well. So that's the main one that I use for the barbecue collection nights.
It's a beast, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's huge. You from the outside, it doesn't look that big, but it's so deep that you can fit 2 or 3 briskets deep. So yeah, and that I don't know how many people we serve, every Saturday that we do it, but we do pretty well considering it's coming out of the back garden all off one smoker. Then I've got the PK grills as well, the PK TX, which I just used tonight actually to make some steaks. That's probably my other than the offsets, that's my go-to. I love that little barbecue. And then I've got the Masterbuilt 560 Gravity, which is perfect for those days where I just don't have time to run an offset, but maybe I want some ribs or want some pork shoulder or something. And then I've got a Weber kettle, which is obviously just a pretty standard but epic little barbecue, perfect little starter.
You got good options for kind of different cuts, different moves, depends how much time you got, doesn't it? Because like you said, you haven't always got time to run an offset. I mean, I had an offset. And I think now I've got a 19-month-old son. I think I've struggled to kind of run an offset all day. So yeah, it's good. It's definitely good to have options.
Dave, what makes the Franklin Barbecue Pit special to cook on? So I think, is it the 38th one that was ever made?
Yeah, so it was I think off the line they're all stamped because they're all handmade by Aaron Franklin and his team of welders. So they've all got their initial stamp on them, the number stamp on them, and the one I've got is number 38. So. I think they were probably about 5 years in the making from when they announced that they were going to be selling them to actually getting the first one out the door. Yeah, it's special to me because it's a unique thing. Yeah, it's quite cool to have one, the only one outside of the US, really well built. The welding on it's incredible, real heavy, great airflow. And I think for me, the best thing about it is just the efficiency of which it cooks. You light a fire in it and it almost works like a furnace, like that you get in like a little cabin or cottage, where you kind of start to shut the door and you can hear the flames roaring.
You recently recreated the whole Franklin menu, didn't you? Want to talk us through that one?
Lockdown last year, wanted to get back to Austin. I thought, why not just cook the Franklin barbecue menu at home? It was, a really good meal, and I wanted to kind of challenge myself by doing a whole menu. So that's what I did. So I did brisket, turkey, pork ribs, pulled pork, all of the sides that they offer, just everything on the menu bar the beef ribs. And I think it took me about 26 hours to get it all cooked. And I used my oven to kind of hold the certain meats at a certain temperature whilst I cooked others, made the sides. And then you might not have noticed it in the video, but the sound changes quite dramatically and the camera angle changes, because as I was plating it up, I was slicing it all, talking away, plating it up on a big platter, finished up, wrapped up the video, went to my camera, and the battery had gone out. And it had gone out about halfway through the plating up. And that was the camera that had the microphone in it as well. So I had to do some bit of editing to try and capture it all. But that was not a good moment.
I've been there recently, to be honest. It's a nightmare when it happens, isn't it? I think, and it's always right at a pivotal moment as well, isn't it? I think mine was when I was just slicing into the brisket and saying, look how juicy it is, look how tasty it is. And there's just no audio whatsoever. I was just like, no. So I feel your pain on that, mate. I feel your pain, especially when you've kind of gone through 26 hours and you're there, you've completed it, you're at the end, and it's I feel your pain. I feel your pain big time.
I could not have planned for it. Of all the times that you would have thought that the amount of time it took me to cook it, you would have thought that I'd have just checked the battery before we went into that final shot. And it was really fun. It was the biggest meal I'd ever cooked. And then all my friends and family came over, socially distanced, picked up trays of barbecue and took it away, and had a little free barbecue meal.
We'll move away from traditional barbecue food. Well, not really, because we're going to talk about steaks now, and you like cooking steaks on your PK, don't you? So what's your preferred method of cooking steaks?
It's got to be a reverse sear, I think, because I like to add a little bit of smoky flavour into it, and I like the way that the reverse sear kind of dries out the surface and creates a bit of a pellicle on the steak. So it really dries it out, gives it a bit of smoke flavour, and you can get a real good sear on that, just to finish it off. And you end up with a nice crusty kind of, rendered surface. It's got to be a ribeye, good thick ribeye, reverse seared on the PK with a little bit of oak wood on there, just to get a bit of smoke flavour.
Now, Dave, a lot of people only cook turkey at Christmas, but you regularly cook the Texan-style turkey breast. How complicated is the cook?
Turkey, the way I do it, that Texas style, is just loves a hot quick cook. Simple, 2 parts pepper, 1 part salt, maybe a little bit of mustard to help it bind, or water or olive oil or whatever you need to make it bind. If it's, the surface is tacky enough, you don't need a binder, but whack that on there, cooking, 140 Celsius. I don't bother wrapping it anymore. I find that turkey doesn't really need to be wrapped if you cook it, hot and quick enough. It's probably the simplest cook that you can do, really. I'm looking for an internal temperature of around 150 Fahrenheit, and then just kind of let it carry over a little bit, wrapped in tin foil at the very end. And you just get some real delicious turkey. We had it for Christmas dinner, actually, the year just gone. That's a super quick cook, and you get so many portions out of a turkey breast. They're huge. The best turkey you'll ever have.
I'm going to have to give it a go, because I still don't... I haven't decided what I like best out of all the pictures that I see. I see ribs, I see the beef ribs, I see the turkey, I see the sausage, and every single bit of it looks immense. So, like I said, mate, I'll keep going on about it, but I'm coming up to yours, and I'm going to be chucking into that platter real soon.
Yeah, I've got a big old platter waiting for you.
Perfect.
Now, Dave, anyone who says is cooked on a kettle grill and is considering moving up to an offset smoker, what advice would you give them?
Wait and invest your money in something that works well. And it doesn't need to be, you don't need to spend thousands of pounds on it. Don't waste your money on something from another company that, specializes in making garden furniture the rest of the year, but then makes smokers in the summer. because they're just not going to be designed in a way that offset smokers are designed to work. You get a stack effect kind of happening. Hot air buoyancy rises up through the stack, that pulls cooler air in onto the coals, and you kind of have an even temperature and a lot of airflow running through the smoker. That's what offset cooking is. But a lot of companies out there just, they put a stack on a cook chamber, they put a little firebox on the side and just rely on natural draft to cook things. And, you get flame outs, you get dirty smoke. It just makes it really hard. And I've seen a lot of people get put off offset cooking because they just haven't spent that little bit more money on a cooker that works well. But if you get a pit that's designed well, that works well, it's a lot easier than people think. The learning curve is pretty steep, but once you get the hang of it, you're going to be having some pretty good barbecues.
Yeah, good advice, mate. So plans for the future?
I think we're gonna stick with this collection from home for a while until people stop wanting it. At the moment there are still people that miss out on a weekly basis, but when we do it, there are still people that didn't quite get an order in time because we sell out quite quickly because we don't have the biggest operation, so we don't have tons of meat to sell. So we'll stick with that until people stop wanting it, and then I think over the next 12 months. I'm going to be looking into different opportunities, whether that's be a residency at a brewery, offering up private events. Get a lot of requests to do private events.
Dave, good luck with all your plans for the future, and thanks for being a brilliant guest on the show.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave. Much appreciated, mate. Legend.
Elky, I think we need to try Dave's curbside barbecue collection service.
Oh, absolutely. I keep saying to Dave, I keep threatening the fact that I'm going to go up there and get one of his platters, and I think it's going to have to happen sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Now, a big thanks from us for all the entries for our What's Cooking competition, where you can win a Thermapen BBQ Brave box. Let's take a look at some of the entries. Some fantastic photographs there, Elky. Now, would you like to announce the winner of the BBQ Brave box from Thermapen?
Oh, it'd be my pleasure. We had some great entries, like you said, and we've picked a winner completely at random, and that winner is Mark Campbell from the Granite Smoke with his delicious Greek souvlaki smash burger. So well done, Mark. There'll be a BBQ Brave box on its way to you soon.
Well done, Mark. That burger looks absolutely fantastic. Well, that's about it for this show. A big thank you to our programme sponsor, Kamado Joe, and our feature sponsors, Thermapen, Barbecue Barn, and Philip Warren Butchers. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, and as always, guys, a huge thanks from me. Keep those fires burning, and we'll see you next time.